Well, golly gee whiz and tickle my bottom. Howdy do, strangers. Resident anime fag Liddy, back with another guide on PvP. This time for intermediates. If you haven't watched the first video, check it out maybe here if I get annotations or whatever they're called working. If not, it'll be in the description. Anyway, let's get into this. If you watched the last video, you'd know earlier I mentioned mix-ups, and right now we'll be looking at an example of how to properly utilize mix-ups to fuck up your opponent's defensive play. Doing this is an act that's called conditioning. Conditioning your opponent to play defensive against certain things will let you realize their pattern and then play a different move. Let's take a look at an example during that fight. Right here is what I'm calling a barrage. It's a fast series of left-right attacks. Most players who see that will assume, okay, I see it now. He's gold spamming. So take a wild guess what they're going to try to do. Bingo. It's important to take notice of how they react to their defensive option. You can see here he instantly goes for a swing, and that means he's confident in his parry. Now with that established, punish his parry. Punishing defensive options is great with mix-ups because it gives you the option to just sandbag them. They're either going to shield and have to hope for a prediction, or they're just going to be taking that damage until eventually you break through. Be sure to remember to keep a move that actually pressures them within shield. If you don't have the pressure to force them to open up their guard, then you're just going to run out of stamina long before they do if your build is wrong. Consistency here is key, and your ability to maintain your own combos and constantly gold link will probably play a huge factor in how you can do your mix-ups. But beyond just that, you should also know the moves that come out of your swings. You should know how to set up into your bigger damaging swings to pressure them. And with that in mind, we go into the topic of breaking through shield. The method of breaking through shield is having so much overwhelming pressure that the opponent has no time to really recharge their stamina. This can be done very effectively if you're decent enough with your mix-ups to properly utilize them and force them into an open position. Another way to break through the shield is to punish over-aggression. If a player starts panicking assuming you're just going to steamroll them unless they hit you back, they're going to waste their stamina on you. And low stamina, again, limits their defensive options. What he's doing here is, instead of trying to escape and catch his breath, he's investing in attacks. Now that I see he's out of stamina, I do an easy guard break into my most damaging move. Keeping an eye on your stamina is important, but it's just as important for you to realize what level your opponent's stamina is at. Maybe you have below half your stamina, but your opponent barely has a sliver of stamina. Regardless of how you look at it, you're still at the stamina advantage, even though you have a small amount of stamina. It would be wise for you to invest and go in. Understanding and learning to identify over-investing on your opponent's part can lead to very decent combos that chain off themselves once you break through their shields. Add in the options of mix-ups, which pretty much forces a player into a defensive stance that they may not be used to using, and you've got quite a potent recipe to pretty much kill anyone in your way. However, there is an exception to this. I'm going to show you a clip that actually makes me really mad, I guess would be the word. More like frustrated. So the round before this, I spent conditioning guy to preemptively parry my left, right? And you can see here there's a confirm. He does it now. Except parry frames are so gracious, you can fuck up and just do it again. Like, these things are so gracious, you can do an extra parry and still get a pretty good punish depending on the stance you're in, which I think is ridiculous. That's not to say other classes don't have spammy abilities, but I think by far Forsaken gets the most mileage out of the ability to just flick the stick like it's someone's dick. There should never be profit for mashing your defensive option twice. That should be room for you to punish, but it's just not, at least in my experience against Forsaken specifically. Like, look, he mashes it twice. So while I think mix-ups are a strong portion of the game and they're very effective, I feel against Forsaken, it's not really worth investing in because regardless of how much you mix it up, your best shot is going to be a 50-50 no matter what. And as a cult player, the setup is either you parry it and might get a hit, or they parry you and you're guaranteed to get hit. So without mix-ups being viable against Forsaken, a lot of the time you're just going to kind of resort to feigning. But the thing is, like, they could still parry twice and fuck up your flow if they just get lucky. It's simply too gracious a window, in my opinion. And that's not saying other classes don't have a gracious window. I think all abilities across the board shouldn't be able to mash as strong as they are, but it's early in the metagame, and I'm sure there's going to be things to find that'll counterplay it regardless. So, this is not a tip for me to throw at the developers saying, hey, here's how to balance your game. This is just me talking. I have no script. Rather, I think the problem is Forsaken has the same gracious windows as the other starter classes, but is also the only starter class amongst those that can guarantee itself into heavier hits, with Windfall having only setups into really light jabs, and Cult not having anything guaranteed, period. Speaking of mix-ups, here's the guy who I started watching to learn more about mix-ups in Absolver. Check out Scott Jund, or Damn No HTML. Cool guy.
Yeah, I don't have the health to trade anymore. Oh, look at the edge walk. God, it's so fucking edgy. He's so good at this game. I can't handle him, man. I just can't do it. I have to have sex with him now. It's just unstoppable.
You know, I was gonna say more about feint punishes, but somehow it's 3 a.m. I don't know what I'm doing. I have school tomorrow, dude. So, hey, leave a like. Remember to subscribe to my channel. Also, subscribe to Scott Jund. I don't know if any of you here would, wow, well delivered. Leave a like. Comment more questions. I'll probably add the feint punishing and conditioning to the next guide. Subscribe to me. Subscribe to Scott. Those are the two that pertain to this video. Shoutouts to Grey Maiden for her cool guide, which actually also helped me get started. I think that's it. Stuff is in the description if you want to hit me up. Bye, guys. Oh, yeah, also give me money.